Alright, this is Unit 1, Section 6 homework. This is the first page, 1 through 8. Alright, so we're just solving inequalities, very similar to equations. Now we can possibly get no solution, or infinite solutions, or just a number, which is one solution. On this first one, the first thing I can see is I have 6x and 6x. So notice I don't have anything else to combine those with, which means those are the exact same, so I can get rid of them. Okay, no matter which way I put it, if I subtract 6 over here, subtract 6 over here, I still have 0. My x's go away, like they're not there anymore. So I'm going to bring down everything else I did not change. So I have negative 12 is less than negative 8 minus 4. Alright. So I just have to see if negative 12 is less than whatever these two numbers are together. So if I combine like terms, you get negative 12 less than, now negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. So because I don't have any variables, my x is gone. I just have to see if this inequality is true or false. Okay, so negative 12 is less than negative 12. That is not true. They are equal, they're not less than each other. So because it's false, my answer is no solution. All right, number 2. I have no parentheses, so no distribute. I can't combine like terms because they're on different sides. So I'm going to go ahead and start with moving my smallest x to the other side. Of course, between 2 and 8, my smallest x is 2. So I'm going to do minus 2x. Now I'm going to bring down everything that did not change. So I have 8 greater than negative 4. And then 8 minus 2x is 6x. Okay, now I want to move my number away from x. So because it's minus 4, I will do plus 4 on both sides. 8 plus 4 is 12. That did not change, and my 6x doesn't change either. Okay, last step is divide. So because I want x, I'm going to divide by 6 to get rid of it over here. And so I do 12 divided by 6 is 2. My sign doesn't change. And don't forget the x. It did not go away, so we still have it. And that's my answer. So that's number 2. Number 3. Almost very similar to what we just did, right? I have no parentheses. I can't combine like terms. So I'm just going to go ahead and move the smallest x to the other side. So I have 8 minus 4x is 4x. Bring down everything else that it did not change. So I have plus 5 greater than 5. Okay. Now I want to move my number away from my letter. So because it's plus, I'm going to do minus. So my x didn't change, my sign didn't change, right? So it's greater than 5 minus 5 is 0. And my last step is divide. So I still have an x that did not go away. My sign is greater than, never changed. And then I can do 0 divided by 4 is 0. So remember, 0 is a number, so that is my answer. Don't think of 0 as a no solution. That's not true. Okay, so if you get 0, that is your answer. Number 4. On this one, I have no parentheses, but I can combine these two numbers on the right because they are both on the same side. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down everything else that did not change. So all of these are the exact same. And then I do 6 minus 5 is 1. Okay. Now, notice on here, my x's are the exact same on both sides, so I can get rid of both of them. And just to make it easy to see, I'll bring everything else down. And now I can check and see if this is true or false. So it says -1 is greater than or equal to +1. Well, that's false. No negative is greater than a positive. So my answer is no solution. Moving right along, number 5. Now I have parentheses. So remember, if you ever see parentheses when you're solving, you have to distribute first. Okay, so I do multiply. -4 times 2v, -8v. -4 times 6 is -24. And all this other stuff I just bring down. I did not change. So I have +4 less than, and then -26 minus 8v. Okay, I can combine like terms right here because they're both on the same side. I bring down everything else. And if you've already see where I'm going with this because you catch it now, that's fine. So -24 plus 4 is -20. Less than -26 minus 8v. Okay, now, normally I would move the smallest v, but because they're the exact same number, I can cross them out. So now I want to look at this inequality right here. -20 is less than -26. Is that true or false? Okay, well that's false. -20 is actually greater than. So my answer is no solution. Number 6. Parentheses. So you guessed it, I gotta multiply. Okay, I'm gonna bring all these down. These did not change. So I have 4 minus 4x greater than or equal to 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times -7x is -28x. So yeah, don't forget the negative and don't forget the x. Some people still multiply the numbers and they forget the x and then they add the wrong thing, get the wrong answer. So just be careful. Okay, I cannot combine like terms because they're on different sides, so I'm going to move the smallest x. Between -4 and -28, the -28 is definitely smaller, so I'm going to add 28x. And the reason I move the smallest variable each time, especially with inequalities, is to avoid dividing by negatives. That way I don't have to remember to flip the sign, okay? So if I can, I'll always move the smallest one, which, unless the x's are the exact same, or the variables, you should almost always get a positive variable, so you always divide by a positive number. So it works out. Okay, first I have 4, that didn't change. 28 minus 4, I get 24x. And then these two are the exact same. Haven't moved them yet or touched them, done anything, okay? So I have x on the left, which means my number has to move to the right. So my x and my sign are still here. 4 minus 4, I'm sorry, there's a sign. 4 minus 4 is 0. And then my last step, of course, is divide. So I have my x stays, right? My sign stays the same. And 0 divided by 24 is just 0. So that is my final answer. All right, almost done with the first page. Got number 7. Okay, parentheses, again, I distribute, which is multiply. So I didn't change these at all. So I have -4 times n, -4n. -4 times -4 is a positive 16. All right. Now, I don't have anything to combine on the same side, so I'm going to move. Actually, see on this case, this one, the -6, is smaller than -4. But if I move this in to the right side, then I have all my letters and all my numbers on the same side. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just move this one, even though it's not the smallest one. Okay. Just because I don't want to have to do more steps than I need. So on this one, I have 4 minus 6 is -2n. So as you can see right here, I'm going to go ahead and divide by a negative here in a minute, which means I need to flip my inequality sign. Okay, so last step, I divide. So my n comes down. Because I divided by a negative, this sign, sorry, here's n, this sign is going to change direction. Okay. Now again, I try to avoid that if I can, but in this case, it was just easier to move the bigger n, which caused the negative. So that's okay. So my answer is n is less than or equal to -8. And last question on here. I have parentheses. So if you have parentheses, most of the time, I won't say always, it just depends on who writes the question. Most of the time, it's because I have some number I have to distribute. Oh, that's too close to pink. Okay, let me get a different one. So if you look, I have a negative and no number. So if you remember, that's really like a -1. Right? So I'm going to distribute -1 to both of these. So I did not change these at all. So I have 3 minus 3v less than or equal to, all right, less than or equal to, then -1 times v, -1v, and you don't need the 1 if you don't want to. -1 times -5 is a +5. Okay, now I'm going to move my smallest v, which is -3, to the other side. So my 3 doesn't change, that doesn't change, 5 doesn't change. So I have 3 less than or equal to 3v minus 1 is just 2v. And then I bring down my 5. Okay, so I have my v's on the right, so my numbers have to go to the left, the opposite side. I don't want them on the same side. So symbol and 2v did not change, right? And 3 minus 5 is -2. And then my last step is simply divide. Okay, so my sign didn't change. I still have my v, please don't forget that. And -2 divided by 2 is -1. Now I know, and I guess I've had these on a few, I didn't even talk about it. If I have my letter on the right, because I'm not graphing, I don't need to do the mirror reflection. I don't need to change it. It doesn't have to be on the left as long as the symbol is facing the right direction. So since I don't have to graph, I'm just going to leave them all on the right because it's a lot easier and it's just less to deal with. All right, so that's the end of the first page.